Uh, so first of all, thank you so much. This is really exciting. Was really looking forward to this. And a little bit about myself. I'm Marc. I'm from Barcelona. And during my youth, I was very fortunate to really travel to many different parts of the world. And what I really valued from all these experiences wasn't, seeing that very nice climbing up that mountain or going to this event, that one temple and stuff like that. It was really the people along that journey that made all those experiences so special, so meaningful. And I always felt like, when you do travel, suddenly you're exposed to like so many new perspectives. And suddenly if you and I meet, you suddenly give me a little piece of yourself and I get a little bit piece of back. And so I felt like during those periods, that's when I really grew as a person and also professionally. It gave me a lot of perspective on the direction that I wanted in life. And I really saw a lot of value in human connection. So when COVID started, I was starting my corporate job. Absolutely nothing against that, but just for me personally, I realized that that is just not what I wanted to do for myself. And so I really saw all that free time suddenly as an opportunity to really think about what it is that I wanted for myself. And that was the period in which I came across co-living. And for those who don't know what co-living is basically a new form of accommodation that's flexible and based on communities. A lot of them are very popular now among remote workers. They allow you to live and work basically wherever you want and really tap into very specific kinds of communities, right? So you can have co-livings for entrepreneurs, you can have co-livings for surfers, maybe just sometimes for digital nomads. And when I started on this journey and felt like, oh my God, this is my life calling, this is what I want to do, I felt like I was in a very fortunate position to really think about what community meant for me, right? And what kind of community I wanted to build for myself as well. And I feel like the term community has just been thrown around very much nowadays, community here, community there, and stuff like that. And for me, community, in my case, I didn't want to limit it just to one specific kind of people. I really wanted them to bring in a very diverse group of people to really foster a lot of innovation, creativity, and the true magic. And instead, make all these people share one shared philosophy, basically. And the philosophy of Karisma is really around the belief that life is a gift and that it would be a pity to spend this entire life doing something that's not authentic to yourself. So all of the rebellious creators, that's what we call them at Karisma, are people who take ownership over their life. They're not afraid of breaking the mold, and they do it with a purpose of doing something that's truly authentic to themselves and to really create, their own destinies. I know this is very cheesy, all these different things, but basically the idea at first was to build our own space in the south of Portugal. We had an investor who was an early investor into cryptocurrencies. He really dragged me onto the whole Web3 space and everything like that. And after many months, we realized that, okay, this is going to take 2 to 3 years to get started. I don't even have experience with real estate. I've never even ran a co-living before. And there was just a lot of things that were just making this too risky. And I realized around that time that the successful businesses of tomorrow are going to be built around communities. And this is a trend that's really been spearheaded by Web3. And combined with all those things, I was like, okay, chill. Let's take a step back right here. And basically, we decided to first build the community and the brand on one side through pop-up co-livings, which means, whether it's a 2-week, 4-week, or even 3-month pop-up co-living in different parts of the world, while also building our online community. Hello, Sammy. Thank you for joining. And so basically, we have these two main pillars. So right now, we've already hosted our first pop-up space in Fuerteventura. We brought in 12 entrepreneurs, experts in many different fields. Hello, Marcia. Hello. I'm super happy to go back a little bit just to give some context as I'm just getting started. Whatever
Thank you
say, Nishant.
Yeah, sure, Marc. Yeah.
How is everyone doing? Everyone good?
Hi, thank you. I'm good. Just happy to be here. Sorry if we were a little late. Hope you didn't go so far.
All good, all good. So basically, I was sharing the journey of how Karisma, which is a co-living brand, was really born. The idea at first was to build our own space. We had an investor and everything lined up as well. And we realized that through a trend that's really been spearheaded by Web3, that the successful businesses of tomorrow will be built around communities. So instead of going straight to the building and developing this thing, we decided, okay, let's first take a step back and build the community first through pop-up experiences that would allow us to gain a lot of experience, test out a lot of different things, start faster, and at the same time, start the online community that we did on Discord. The idea of starting with this online community was to really start getting the community involved, not just letting the people also interact with each other without depending on the actual experience and space, but also, giving them certain governance rights very slowly. And I realized at the same time, while I was diving very deep down the Web3 rabbit hole, that Web3 is at its core about a community. I mean, that's what it's all about. At the end of the day, in Web3, we saw, Web2, we saw a lot of these more centralized organizations accruing most of that value, having total ownership over everything that happens. And what I loved about Web3 is that suddenly it was kind of much more democratized and people suddenly had ownership over these different things. And so since co-living, I believe there's almost nothing as community-centered as co-living, I realized something could be done right here. And so basically, what I loved about it is that in co-living, if Karisma succeeded, it was not just going to be because I did an amazing job and my partner as well, and we did everything perfectly. It was because of all these people who supported since day one. It was because of everyone who joined from the very beginning. And at the end of the day, many of the experiences that happen in co-living are a bottom-up, through a bottom-up approach. What I mean with that is that, in top-down, you're telling them, okay, on Saturday, there's going to be this event. Whereas with a bottom-up approach, suddenly Sammy says, oh my God, I'm an amazing photographer. I would love to hold a workshop on photography, right? And then suddenly these people start, offering and asking for certain activities, and organically they start enriching and co-creating with each other, so to say. So that was kind of a short introduction. I'm super happy to go down kind of on the vision on how Web3 really integrates into all these different things. But Nishan, maybe if you have any questions or anything you want to add in between before I just keep on rambling.
No. I think you use that word, vision, and of course, love to hear, because that Web3 is a lot about the vision, and how you really want to apply it, just beyond the thrill of the technology. So yeah, love to hear your vision.
I mean, thank you. So I feel like there's two main pillars really happening in all of this, two main visions that kind of integrate at some point. Obviously here we might be talking a few years, but dreaming is always free. And it sets the direction. So on one side, we have the aspect of global mobility, right? So with co-living, a lot of my research has really been done around the future of work, all of these different trends. And there's just a lot of evidence that shows that we are going to be living in a world where we're just going to be roaming around the world very freely. On one side, we have remote work, which is here to stay, period. I'm not going to spend much more time on this. And then on top of that, we have Web3 really adding a lot of value on that. I think Web3 is going to make the relationship to work very polygamous, right? We're seeing that with DAOs, people are adding value in many different organizations. It doesn't matter where you're from, what background you have. It's as long as you have an internet connection and have certain skills, you can add that value. And then another one that I think is also very interesting is that of the creator economy. As jobs get really automated, people are going to be spending much more time doing creative work. And with a combination of the ownership economy, which is everything, with the tokens, the NFTs, all these different things, this is giving path to the passion economy. People were talking at the beginning of the internet about the 1,000 true fans. Now with the creator economy and the combination of Web3, people are going to be able to monetize their individuality, their audiences, and be able to focus on much more very specific niches, right? Being able to just make a living with 100 true fans. I'm very happy to dive into that as well, just giving here. And so basically around the global mobility, my vision is offering the infrastructure for the members of my community to roam through the world and connect and create with each other wherever they are. At first, it's going to be with a big emphasis on co-living, but at the end of the day, these people, location independent people, they just have a lot of needs and demands. So, you know, sometimes they're going to want to be in a more community-centered environment, whereas in other times you just want to relax, have more time for yourself, maybe with a more intimate group. So whether it's through collaborations, master leases, or actually owning the space, we also want to include, you know, tiny home villages, glampings, residentials, co-working spaces, all these different things. The key in all of this, and this is where Web3 comes in, is doing this through a co-ownership model. Basically, you know, when we were just living in one specific place, ideally you have your own assets, right? The one place where you live, instead of just money having to get out of your pocket all the time. And the question is, what happens suddenly when you're traveling all over the world and living in many different places? It's going to suck if money is just constantly coming out of your pocket, right? With Web3, what you can do is offer a stake, maybe in the real estate, in the overall company, that grants you access to all these different spaces, grants you access to the overall community, while also maybe even making you some passive income while these spaces are not being used, and also benefiting from the increase in the value of the overall company. The cool thing about this is that on one side, it totally changes the relationship, you know, between the host and the guest. And at the same time, suddenly the incentives are totally aligned, right? If Nishant has a stake in the global ecosystem of spaces of Karisma, you want to make sure that Karisma succeeds, because then you're not only going to be able to maybe hang out with more amazing people and stuff like that, but you're going to benefit from the increase of value of your NFT or token in whatever shape it comes, right? You can either play around with tokenization of real estate. I've seen people kind of selling an NFT that represents a percentage of ownership in the overall company or in the portfolio. And so we have this on one side. The other one, and this one is something more recent, which I'm still kind of realizing, and that I realized especially on my last pop-up experience that we just finished a week ago in Fuerteventura, is that at the core, it is about the people. It is purely about the people, and obviously on top of it, the experiences that you share with these individual people. So I realized that co-living is just kind of the excuse or the packaging in which all of these people come together. But the same way, all these like-minded people could come together in a yacht party like they do with the Bored Apes, right? Or it could be a one-week trip up the Kilimanjaro mountain, right? It's just the excuse. And so I'm right now in this process of considering whether Karisma should position itself as a social club, right? In which the members of the community really interact with each other in real life, because I really believe there's a lot of value in real life interactions, and let, you know, the co-livings be the main point of concentration, but also including other sorts of experiences. Because at the end of the day, you know, since I mentioned earlier, Karisma is really around the belief that life is a gift, and that it's possible on one side to do some work on something that's truly meaningful to yourself, while also living a life that's truly memorable and really authentic. So that's where, you know, you can also really play around with Web3. You know, for example, one of the things that we're doing with people that are attending our spaces is offering them co-op NFTs. This is just slowly to start educating them. I think this is something that's, you know, going to be there. Web3 is going to be, I think, all over the place in just a few years. But you gotta, yeah.
I have a question on that, like,
yeah,
if you allow me. Like talking about the people that you meet and the people that you work with in a way. How do you also work with people that don't know anything about it, and how do you convince them, you know, that this is a good solution for them, or this is like another way that they should take?
And that's such a good question. So on the first pop-up co-living that we organized, there was we had this board, and everyone was, with these different blocks, and everyone was able to offer a workshop, a mastermind, everything all the way down to like a yoga session, whatever they wanted. And so I took the opportunity to do a workshop on Web3 and how it also the intersection with community. And so I think one part of it is clearly communicating it. That was my way of communicating it to people. And at the same time, you should also put yourself in the shoes of these people, right? I feel like I don't know how much. I'm also no Web3 expert here. Like I've just done my fair amount of research. I'm still learning every single day, and I feel like there's still so many things to be learned.
Like most of the people, I would say.
Yeah.
at this stage.
And so I would try to explain to them in the easiest way possible and in a way that's centered to them, right? Like whenever you speak to someone, it should always be having in mind the actual audience that you're speaking to. So for example, the reason I see a lot of value in Web3 for co-living specifically is that what I was saying earlier, that if Karisma succeeds, it's because of the contribution of everyone. And Web3 is a way to democratize those contributions and to really spread the rewards in a very fair way, right? Because at the end of the day, if I'm organizing, when I was organizing, promoting my first pop-up space, my first co-living, one of the biggest questions I was getting was, who is coming, right? So it wasn't so much, oh, what does the space look like? Is it here or there? Like, who is coming? That was the main thing. So I don't like to say this, but at the end of the day, what you're selling in this case is the people, right? And so to me, it is somewhat unfair to be like, oh yeah, like I'm going to bring all these people and I'm going to benefit from them coming here and doing this publicity or whatever you want to call it. So that was the way I kind of explained it, instead of saying like, oh my God, you're going to get this NFT and it's going to give you access to all these different locations. And if benefit, like you're going to benefit from this because then you're also going to get tokens. I don't know. I wouldn't get like into very much technical stuff and just focus on the overall ethos. And when I explain it to people, I also like to mention the problems that we face with Web 2, right? Web 2, like, I feel like it's been just totally like, fuck Web 2 and all these kind of things. I think it actually laid the frame and the foundation for everything that's coming now, right? For all these creators, for all these different people, it's given an audience, a platform for these people to speak up, to do all these different things. So I think there's a lot of value in that. But the two biggest issues I see is that one, the power remains in decentralized authorities, meaning they can just, you're kind of, if you're using Facebook or other Web 2 platforms, kind of renting the space. You're not owning it, right? They can just like kick you out, censor you whenever they want to. The other one is around ownership, right? Like, for example, I took this class with Dror Polek. I don't know if anyone is familiar with him. He has an amazing course called Hype Free Crypto. And he gave the example of Gangnam Style, which I really like. And basically, he asked, so who should benefit from all this fame and like, it's the most watched video on the internet, blah, 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 all these kinds of things. Who should benefit from this and who should be rewarded for it? Because the majority of the value accrued to YouTube at the end of the day, even though the production was made by whatever the name was of that person, and also the first contributors, right? What about the people that watched the video as one of the first ones and contributed to its virality by sharing it, by commenting on it, by liking it, and all these different things? But these people are not getting anything from this, right? So that's where like Web3 really offers a solution to all this, through the decentralization and, the aspect of being able to benefit from this. And you may be asking, okay, but how do these people benefit from it? There's many things you can do. Like, for example, the most simple one would be by giving these people tokens. And I can combine this with how Karisma is planning to really implement this. I was talking about, the pull-up NFTs, right? On one side, this is proof of attendance protocol NFT. It just showcases that you attended the first ever Karisma NFT. And maybe if in the future we are successful, I can go and see like, okay, who were the first 1,000 attendees? And maybe I can give them some very specific perks. I can give them some discounts and many different things. But I can also use these addresses to then, once I implement the tokens, airdrop those tokens to these individual addresses. And so here are some of the ideas that I have on how tokens can be leveraged, right? For example, if you attend a pop-up space or just a co-living in general, if you help to host one of these, if you propose an idea that gets implemented, you get these tokens, right? Depending on the number of tokens that you have, maybe at the beginning you get some free merch, maybe you get some benefit. Maybe at some point, you know, the more times you stay there, the bigger the discount actually becomes, and the bigger the benefits actually come. That's where you also have to really play with incentives, right? Because if you know you already have this incentive and people already spend it right away, you know, maybe you want people to actually hold those. So maybe you can say that the longer you hold it, the bigger the reward is also going to be. There's so many. I feel like there's absolutely so many different use cases. You can play around with tokenization of real estate. You can use tokens as a crowdfunding tool to really, you know, yeah, I mean, crowdfunding, I don't think it needs any explanation. Crowdfund all these different projects. And what I like most about all of this is that, you know, Sammy, if you're suddenly holding the Karisma token, you're not only also going to get perhaps some governance rights and have some decisions over what happens in the future of Karisma, but you're also going to benefit from the upside of Karisma. So you're going to be sharing Naman, you're going to be telling Marcia, you're going to be telling Nishan, and all these different people, right? So suddenly we're all into this. And Roar, also this person was talking about the kind of the pyramid, the new pyramid schemes, these legal pyramid schemes, which I agree, and I don't think they're necessarily bad. But at the end of the day, the first contributors are going to benefit most from this success. And I think we're going to go into like a much more competitive landscape where people are actually going to do marketing by giving people, you know, rewards and all these different things, you know, by clearly incentivizing them, by airdropping tokens and all these different, yeah. So yeah, that's tokens on one side. The other one would be potentially NFTs. I've seen, for example, a project that was raising $3.3 million for a property. They created 10,000 NFTs for $330 each. And so basically that was a way to pay for this property, and everyone who has this NFT was able to get access to this. A way in which Karisma is planning to use this, but this is a little bit further down the line, is if we do manage to build this global ecosystem of spaces, this is basically your passport, you know, giving you access to all these different locations. So yeah, combining it all now with your initial question of the vision, I hope this answers a lot of the questions. I went in many different directions. I'm more than happy to dive deeper into any of those specific ones.
No, I think you laid it out very nicely, and the question of you know, Sammy also helped build, you know, help make you further build on it. So great. I think with all the talk about NFTs and the incentive and the ownership, let's get down to the ground, you know, and I would really love to know like about your last residency, like how was it, and what kind of exchanges happened, you know. I was not there, but I would like to, you know, feel the vibe, you know, how things were unfolding there.
Of course. Great question. If I shared that everything went according to plan and everything went super smoothly, I'll be totally lying to you. At the end of the day, you're bringing like 12 people into one place. It's literally human dynamics on steroids. And at the same time, it was also my first experience. Overall, the experience went really well. But definitely from the operating point of view, it was an emotional roller coaster, I have to say. I think a lot of these, these swings are going to be flattened over time as I gain more experience. There's a lot of things that, you know, there's always room for improvement and stuff like that. And overall, it went really well. At the end of the day, I think a lot of this boils down to getting in the right people into that space, right? You know, if you're just running a hotel, like you just bring people, they they chill at the pool, they go to their room, they go on their little sightseeing, and that's it, right? But when you're suddenly living with these different people, you want to make sure that these people are as aligned as possible. And when you on top of it manage to really get some very inspiring people, people that are open to sharing, people who are open to learning, right? People who want to have new experiences, meet new people and these different things. It's only a matter of time until suddenly these connections start happening and people start co-creating with each other. So for example, there was a Ukrainian girl who attended the first day, the day we launched. That's when Russia invaded Ukraine. You know, she was, yeah, I mean, it was really, really tough, to be honest. But we were all so eager to help. And suddenly, you know, there was this one person, this other person was able to help this other person because this person wanted to make an impact and help in one way or another. And just within a few days, suddenly co-living.help was born, right? I mean, this is a platform that brings co-living operators together to offer basically housing opportunities to these Ukrainian refugees. And maybe, you know, this person would have found a way to do it together, but we're able to do it so much faster. They were able to do it so much faster because they complemented each other with different expertises that suddenly these things happen. There was, at first, you know, I was, one big lesson that I had for this experience was also, you know, asking more the people what they actually want, right? If you're just like having maybe like a very specific retreat with a very specific purpose, you can have a very specific agenda, right? But a co-living is kind of very unpredictable. It depends on the people that come, you know, it just certain things happen very organically. Obviously, as an operator, you have to make sure that there's processes in place that kind of set these boundaries for these things to really happen, right? But basically, I forgot what the hell I was going to say. Yes, about the top-down approach. You know, it's very important to ask these people what they want, right? Like from the very beginning. And I think this is something that can also be applied to the overall Web3 space if you're building your own communities. You know, each community is different. Each community is composed of different people with different needs, different demands. I think it's very important to always ask these people, you know, whether it's just like a feedback session, whether it's just creating a trustful environment for these people to really open up and share what they really desire. And also having a nice onboarding process, you know, in which, you know, people can from the very beginning give their little insights. But overall, the experience was very enriching. We definitely prioritized productivity. So there was no like big group activities happening before 5 p.m. You know, maybe it was just maybe individual people who said like, oh, let's do some, let's have a talk around this, you know, let's do an individual workshop around that. And, you know, after that, we really combined it a lot with, you know, the professional aspect, the professional development, really taking your life projects to the next level, but also at the same time having an amazing fucking time. So for example, you know, on the second Friday we were there, we went to this little fisher town. We wanted to, like, this one girl wanted to host an ecstatic dance at the beach for sunset and stuff like that. And while we were waiting in the parking lot for these two people to come back, we decided to blast some music and we were all just dancing, vibing there, having a good time. And then suddenly some people started joining and some other people started joining. Everyone started dancing. I was like, oh, maybe we should organize a little race. You know, we had everything set up. We had a very nice speaker. We had we had food, some drinks, obviously designated drivers, and all these kinds of things. And then suddenly, super organically, we were in this abandoned house having the best time of our lives. And this goes again back to the idea that the best things cannot be artificially planned. They cannot be planned in advance. They happen really organically. And that's where the true power of co-living really comes in. You're not only able to live and work wherever you want, but you're really living with these people. You're not just having a one-on-one Zoom session, trying to exchange some value quick like that. You're really living with these people. You're connecting with these people on a much more personal basis. which gives fruit and the spiritual ground for all these other things that come afterwards.
Well, I think this really humanizes, the stories that you told, like from on the ground, like how the magic unfolds, and especially when people meet in real life, and that's really that spontaneity and co-creation is very strong, immediately that emotional connection happens, and and people go on to something and then to something. And this example of co-living.help, you said?
Yeah. Co-living.help.
Yeah, this is amazing. I've been to several jams and hackathons, and and the energy that you feel in that space, it's just phenomenal. Okay. Next question is, so what inspires you on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I mean, I feel like it's a cliche thing to say, but I'm deeply driven by people. I feel like people add a lot of spontaneity and variety into your life. The beautiful thing is that we're all different, like we all have different backgrounds, different educations, different passions, different ways of seeing the world. I think it's a pity, if you don't open up to new people and like just stay kind of in your own bubble, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But it goes back, I think the other thing that inspires me is that immense gratitude that I have for life. I think it's amazing. I mean, like, obviously it's what you make of it, and all these different things, and people have, are more privileged than others and different things. But I really believe that in the little things, the things that we have in front of us, there's a lot of value, and those little things can sometimes just be the people. I feel like we live in this world where we're constantly chasing the next thing, wanting more, and all these different things. And sometimes it's just simplifying things and like looking around, being grateful for your friends, your family, the things that you get to do every single day. And I would definitely say that the people are what inspire me most. And that's why for me, it was a no-brainer to go all into co-living. And even though at the beginning, I was not even considering to integrate this with Web3 at all. I mean, the maximum I was thinking about potentially doing was accepting cryptos in terms of payments, and potentially in the future doing like the tokenization of real estate. But then once I started digging a little bit deeper and realized that Web3 is so much about community, I was like, fuck yes, this is sick. I mean, I'm not like into Web3 because of the investment side. Like, obviously I do invest into cryptos. I've basically not invested into NFTs. I think that's a totally different story. Like, I think that's a whole new world. For me, it's really the passion, the aspect of the people behind it, and the potential to really enrich any community and organization, not just online, but also in real life, kind of like you're doing, Nishant, with Lomads, and which is also really, really inspiring.
Thank you, Marc. Yeah, I mean, like, this is a beginning of a new era, and all of us are really trying to materialize, our vision of a better world. Okay, and talking about vision, sometimes the vision is, yes, of course, it inspires you every day, but then you think about the operational challenges, and that also, I think that, as you work towards your vision or, your medium-term goals, what do you think are your key challenges in the coming months? What bothers you? What bothers you? Something like that.
100%. It's a great question. And it's a question that, I would have probably given a different answer to before actually running the first space. I feel like I have this quality about myself that is kind of like this double-edged sword. It's kind of like a strength and a weakness at the same time. I'm a very conceptual person. I love dreaming, and sometimes, I can create, develop some very intricate ideas with a lot of different points of views and stuff like that. And sometimes I can just be up there, in the clouds, just kind of dreaming, right? But it's super important to also stay grounded and execute what's right in front of me, right? So right now we're not actively building the team. We're not like actively chasing people, but we're in the lookout, to start bringing some different people. And before the pop-up, I was looking into, it would be ideal if it's someone who knows about real estate and Web3. That would be amazing, like maybe some things like that. But I feel like that's very important for the things that are happening in the clouds, right? Now that I've had my first experience, my idea of the ideal next person to join the team has totally shifted. Now I'm thinking we need someone who is good with numbers, good with operations, right? Someone who knows how to build a community, because at the end of the day, to get to where we want, on one side, we need the operations, right? To really make the growth really sustainable and make sure that all the processes are in place for everything to really happen in the smoothest way possible. And community building, because at the end of the day, community is what holds everything together. It's the core of what we do. It's the core of Karisma. And once we have this community, then we can, on top of that, build the global ecosystem of spaces. We can build, all these different experiences and all these different things. So I would say that the challenges at the moment are really making sure that we really create a solid foundation for sustainable growth. I think the ambitions are very high. We have, obviously, I have my other partner. He is a very recognized person within the co-living industry, adding extremely high amounts of value. We have a lot of people, contributors, helping in the shadows, right? Whether it's the website development, the marketing, it's just literally, I feel so grateful because, again, like I was saying, it's not just me here. I may be the face of it. I may be the one speaking about it. I may be the one, talking to you and stuff like that. But there's a lot of people in the background that are really helping this. And that's why I'm also, I just truly believe that Web3 is a key part of this, because once I implement all these tokens and all these different things, I can go back to all these people and be like, you know what, you helped since day one. You helped me with this, and that. And here, this is the value that I'd love to give you back. And I think that the beautiful thing about this project is that I think it's a very enriching experience, kind of. It's all about meaningful and genuine connections with other people, which is something I think we are losing over time. And at the same time, the vision of this global mobility, I mean, I think sounds pretty exciting. And
Marc?
Going back to the go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, I had to go. I have to go. Just wanted to say thank you for this morning. It was really, really interesting to hear from you. I'm on your Discord anyway. I'm following you. I've been on your Discord for some time now. So yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you.
Amazing.
Thinking about coming to you someday.
Amazing. We have the next one happening probably on the 2nd of April, and then that's going to be a 1-week retreat with Borderless. We're collaborating with them, and then we're thinking of doing a one that is probably going to be like 3 months, probably Madeira, starting May.
Okay.
So it would be an absolute pleasure to have you there and meet you in person as well.
Okay. Let's keep in touch then.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. See you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Nishant.
Okay, bye, Sammy. Okay, Marc, great. I think, yes, that's going to be a big challenge, as you say, operational part, because, real estate is capital intensive. And then, on top of it, running the other side, which is the community and enabling value. So then I wonder about your core team. Like you said, you have a co-founder. Are you 2 of you, or is it 3? Like how is the team? And what is interesting is like, how do you complement each other? Like, how are you building the company together?
100%. So I mentioned at the very beginning that I had an investor, stuff like that. That investor happened to be one of my best friends. And when we switched to the pop-up model, right, suddenly that investment wasn't really necessary. And at the same time, he was building his own blockchain company. And yeah, I would say that if you're building a company with your best friend, like be really, really sure. There was some tension there. I think it all boils down to really expectation setting. So now, we decided to part our own ways, which really dramatically, improved our friendship again. I love this guy. And then the other one is Guy Pertry. I don't know if you're familiar with him. For me, he's always been a big role model in the co-living industry. I like to call him the king of co-living. And he was the one who helped me kind of as a mentor / advisor on this whole journey. And he was also there as a co-host of the first experience. And now I feel like he has been kind of the, when you're learning how to ride the bicycle, you have the two little wheels on the side. In terms of co-living, he has been that for me. And now it's the time for those screws to get undone, right? And to ride on my own. But at the same time, I think if I was thinking of another metaphor, but let's just, I feel like the road ahead is steep, and very rewarding, and I'm really looking forward to it. But it's going to take much more than just a little bicycle to go up that mountain. Talking to a lot of very interesting people every day, and yeah, I mean that's what it is right now. I mean, like right now it's been working. We've been able to get everything done. I quit my job back in October, so this is what I do for a living. I have already, in and of itself, more than enough energy every single day. And on top of it, if it's something that I'm passionate about, like it just goes through the roof. So far, like it's been working, but we are definitely on the lookout. That's for sure.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, let me surprise you by this question. That did you ever have a difficult flatmate?
A difficult flatmate? Yeah. I mean, like more difficult, like that we just probably didn't get along as much. That could be a thing, but I think a lot of it is just boils down to then acceptance and respect, right? And then you just go about it. I'm trying to think whether I had ever any fight. I mean, I had one fight once with my roommate, my second year of university, but I think it was just me being dumb also, and I think both of us actually. To be honest, I feel like I've been very lucky most of the time with the roommates I've had. Very lucky, and I've had a good amount of roommates. I've been living with people ever since my first year of university. So starting 2016. Yeah, always living with others.
Fantastic. And now making others live with others. Other people live with other people. Good, great. I mean, like it's fun, all these dynamics, and as adults we need to learn, as you said, to respect, to accept, and that thought, because when you are actually sharing personal space with others, that part becomes very key. You cannot have everything going like, it's not like a chat room where you can step out, or you can block a person, it's in the same space. So I think that maturity, like on a very, very ground level is important. And I hope people who operate from their heart, they should have
100%. And even in co-living, like, I think it's totally irrational to think that everyone is going to get along with each other. Like there's some people are going to get along more with others than others, but that's okay. Like you're not friends with everyone in life, and that's totally fine as well. Like, and even within your family, your wider family, your cousins, like you have some cousins you like more than other ones, and this uncle I like, but you all love each other, and I think it just boils down to respect and having also a degree of empathy as well.
Absolutely. Okay, Marc. I think it was lovely, listening to all your thoughts. Do you have any final comments? Otherwise, we're going to conclude it.
I would say that there's so many things I would say, but yeah, again, life is a blessing. Make the most of it, you know, and especially, yeah, I know what I would love to say. You know, if you're embarking on your entrepreneurial journey, don't get stuck just on the idea stage or the execution part, right? There's a lot of room in between where you can just do a lot of research, you know, just, you know, get dip your toes in the water. Actually, Karisma started as a surf camp idea, surf camp out of shipping containers. And even though I'm absolutely, like, I'm not even that good when it comes to surfing, I'm like, kind of shit almost. But, you know, like, I had a lot of time with COVID, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to pick one thing. You know, it had a lot of the aspects that I liked, right? The people, the experiences, the traveling aspect, and just pick something that excites you, you know, something on your day-to-day, something, one of your hobbies, and just do some research, just get the ball rolling. And then suddenly, like, it gets bigger, one thing leads to the next. Suddenly you realize, like, oh, there's this remote work trend happening. Oh my God, this is co-living. Oh, okay, what the fuck is co-living? And the next thing you know, you're like thinking about Web3 and like a social club, and like you're giving this talk right here, which is fucking mind-blowing to me. So again, thank you so much, Nishant, for this opportunity. It's an absolute honor to be here. Really, really appreciate it. And also thank you for those who joined as well. Really appreciate it.